Welcome to the Legendary Weapons of Call of Duty, a series where we will take a look at some of the most famous guns in the game. Today we will take a look at M16. The first time we saw M16 was in Call of Duty 4, and it quickly became known as probably the best gun in the game, and it was often referred as the god gun of Call of Duty. Players usually described this gun as assault rifle at medium range and a sniper at range, and when combined with steady aim, shotgun up close. While this description is a little bit exaggerated, it's not far from the truth, and probably the only weakness of M16 is that Call of Duty 4 has sometimes a little bit unreliable hit detection. And when it comes to unreliable hit detection, semi-automatic weapons do suffer more than fully automatic. However, because M16 is a 3-burst fire weapon, it takes a little bit more skill to use, and therefore, especially on the PC where the gameplay is a little bit faster, wasn't necessarily always the first choice, and many players preferred AK-47 over M16. So at the end it was a fight between AK-47 and M16 for the best gun in the game. The next time we saw M16 was in Modern Warfare 2, and on the contrary what most players believe, Modern Warfare 2 M16 was in no way inferior to the one in Call of Duty 4. It had the same fire rate, the same damage, and it was more or less the same consistent one-burst kill, especially with the holographic sight attachment. The holographic sight was sort of a M16 secret, because M16 with a holographic sight attachment shot more accurately and therefore was more consistent one-burst kill. But unlike Call of Duty 4 where M16 and AK were clearly the best guns in the game, in Modern Warfare 2 there were many other assault rifles that were just as good, including another 3-burst fire weapon from us that was just as good as M16 with a holographic sight attachment, and therefore offered more variety. For that reason, M16 in Modern Warfare 2 was not nearly as popular as the one in Call of Duty 4. Next time we saw M16 was in Call of Duty Black Ops, and once again it was more or less the same as in previous two games. However, this time around it suffered tremendously from the absence of stopping power perk. While for most guns that meant that they need one more bullet to kill, for M16 usually that meant one whole burst, and that made M16 into one of the worst guns at close quarter combat. However, M16 had very little recoil in a game where most guns did have more recoil, and that made M16 one of the better guns at long range. All in all, M16 was still a pretty good gun, but this time around you had to respect its limitations. If in previous two games you could use M16 any way you wanted, that was not the case in Black Ops. In this game, M16 was clearly meant for long range encounters. So if a player used this gun properly, in proper situations, and respected its limitation, this was still a very solid choice and a very decent gun, especially for maps that have a lot of long lines of sights. So finally M16 came back also in Modern Warfare 3. However, for the first time around this gun was actually pretty bad. If we would compare this gun to another 3-burst fire weapon in the game, Type 95, this gun did less damage, had slower fire rate, had more recoil and longer reload time. So there was absolutely no reason why to pick M16 over Type 95. It took Infinity Ward quite a while to realize that they made M16 too weak. However, about 7 to 8 months in the game they did release the patch that increased M16 damage and fire rate. So right now in Modern Warfare 3 M16 is once again a pretty decent gun. If we would compare it to Type 95 right now, M16 is probably still weaker in close quarter combat, but better at long range, because it does more damage at longer distances. I must admit that at the beginning of the game I was almost sad to see this legendary weapon so weak, but right now it is once again a pretty solid choice. We already know that M16 will not be returning in Black Ops 2, however this is such a legendary gun that we can rest assured that we will see M16 once again in upcoming Call of Duties.